Hello and welcome to Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. This episode is going to be about the Buness tam that I made last week from Fair Isle Weekend by MJ Mucklestone. And as you might be able to see from this, I actually edited this so that it's just a cap and not a tam. So it has all of the elements of the pattern elements of Buness, but I have edited it so that it would, it's the light, that's kind of better. So I've edited it so that it fits like a regular cap and not like a tam. So there it is. It's a little, oops, I think that's the jog. Let's put it on this way. It's a little small. I will talk about the edits I would have made had I known or thought a little bit more about this. But it actually stretched it when I blocked it, and it does fit properly now. So, and we'll talk about how I edited the pattern. I will talk about the colors, and I'll talk a little bit about color play and how I came up with the palette. So here is the picture of Buness in Fair Isle Weekend. If you go to the page before this one, you can see that's the top of the tam, the wheel, and then that's, I think it's Mary Jane. She's wearing it. So it's very chic. I actually think I might make another one and do it actually as a tam. But to make a tam, essentially you're making a shorter body of the hat, and it's wider than it would be if it were a cap. And then the crown of the cap, or the wheel, is not that different from when you're doing the crown of a cap. So the number of rounds is, I think there's a couple of more rounds in this, but you can swap this if you have this pattern. I'm not going to show it because this is a nice book and you should buy it. But you can use the top of the wheel, or just it's called the wheel chart. You can use the wheel chart as a hat crown if you are inclined to do that, which is cool. I've thought about doing that. I like it, so I'll show you. Here it looks like this. If you've seen my other videos of caps, I've done some that have the star top. This is sort of a variation on that. So it still has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. No, maybe it's 7. Yeah, 7. Oh no, it is 6. I decreased so that it would have 6. And it has the star. You can see the star there, but it does not have points in the same way. And I like this, and I like that the patterns in this collection are sort of cohesive, because if you've seen my cockalory sweater, it has the same fern instead of a tree. So I'll show you that in this book. Actually, the better, or the more clear shot of that is not the pattern page, it's the face. It's like page 2 or something. It's the alternative colorways, and I think it's Nash Island yarn. So you can see this fern shape. It's not as pointed as a tree, and the decreases are on the edge of the leaf pattern. But this is sort of the same thing as we get on the top of Buness, which is really cool, and I love that. It's really it's like different. It's not necessarily expected. So in order to edit this, again, you can, if you have this book, use the charts. I'm just going to tell you what my stitch counts were. So the chart A and chart C, which are the body charts, it's the same chart, it's just offset by half. So I did 3 of them instead of 2, and I did X, O, X. So I did chart C, chart A, and then chart C, and then chart B is this little period in the middle. It is an XO, XO, or OXO motif. And so what I did was I wanted to get the row count, the round count, like the number of rounds in the body of the hat, as close as possible to Katie's cap, which fits great. And I wanted to get the horizontal count, like the number of stitches in the round, also as close to Katie's cap as possible. So Katie's cap is a 24 stitch repeat, and this is an 18 stitch repeat. So I just, I only had to adjust by 6 stitches. I went down to 162 stitches for mine instead of up. Katie's cap is 168 stitches in the body of the hat. There's fewer in the brim in both this pattern. Yeah, I followed Katie's instructions for the brim basically. Although I didn't do corrugated ribbing. I followed this pattern's instructions for the brim actually, and then I just adjusted the stitch count to be what I wanted for a cap. And I got pretty close. It's a little short. I think to edit this, I could have done another one of these Peeries to make it a little longer, but the problem is that the bands wouldn't have flowed as nicely because this has the same background as this. So, you know, you do what you have to do. It's a little short, but that's okay. You could also just do another entire band. It wouldn't really be that much longer. Maybe I would do that next time. It's hard to say. Depends on the person you're trying to fit. You can always measure. So, yep, I knit this, and then I decreased in the round before the brim just to get a multiple of, the brim chart is longer. It's like 26 stitches per leaf. So it's you have to decrease to a multiple of 26 to get the crown to sit properly. And that was actually fortuitous. It worked out that I could do that like really evenly and usefully, and also in a way that I would get this leaf centered with the middle of either an X or an O in each case, and that was surprising to me. It didn't work out at first because I was like one stitch off, and then I was like, I'm one stitch off everywhere, so I went back and I centered it properly, and I was like, yeah, this is really nice, and it worked out great, so that's cool. But yeah, you can, I mean, it's basically along the lines of like make a Katie's cap with different charts. That's what I was doing, but I didn't get my own charts for this. I took the ones from this. And again, I always encourage people to edit Fair Isle patterns to make them their own in terms of like preference, because not everybody wants to wear a tam. Tams don't look that good on me. So I chose to do this because I thought I would wear it more. And I like it. It's a little too warm right now. It's the end of April, so in Washington, D.C., so it's fully spring, and I will put this away until next winter. I'm thinking about making a pair of matching fingerless mittens or something to go with it. Okay, so that's the pattern, and those are my edits. So color. Okay, so I was to come up with this palette. I was sitting in the car waiting to pick up kids from school. If you've are not familiar with my line of work, I am a nanny and I pick up kids from school every day. So I was sitting in the car waiting because it was raining. Usually I go park it and then I walk to get them, but it was raining, so I was sitting in the car. And it is April, so there are a ton of cherry blossom and magnolia trees and other trees that have beautiful pink leaves in Washington in April. And the sky was kind of grayish. There were a lot of variety of colors in the clouds. There was like a bluish, there was a dark gray, there was a light gray, and then there were cherry blossom trees against the sky. And it was dark because of the cloud cover. So instead of the like light pink color that was coming through, it usually comes through if you're looking at cherry blossoms, it was like muted pinks and like a very dark pink, and then these bright green leaves. Green's actually in here. So I chose, well, there's no white. Anyway, I used white. I'm not sure where it went. There was a white here. So the background color is just 1A. Might have been 2001 Supreme Jumper Weight. I used all Jamison and Smith except 2 Jamisons of Shetland Spindrift. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 colors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I used them exactly as outlined in the pattern, which is not something I always do. And it wasn't something I expected to do. And by like exactly the way that they're used in the pattern, I mean like I chose a color for main color and then A, B, C, D, E, and F. And I stayed with, like, they're not the same colors as the original, obviously, but I stayed with what the chart said to do. And I hadn't necessarily planned to do that, but then it worked out that way. Probably because MJ Mucklestone is a color genius, and her choices were very good. So although I didn't use the same colors, I used the same planning of colors and colors, like shifting of background and foreground colors. That needs to go away because that's not in there. So white is the main color. And then for these oxos, I have 202 Jameson & Smith 2-ply jumper weight in light gray. And this is FC22, which is the kind of dark pink, darkish medium pink. It's heathered. So that's the first band. The second band is, the purple is Jameson's of Shetland, Spindrift, and Clover. And then the brown is color 27 from jumper weight, 2-ply jumper weight Jameson & Smith. This is from a cone. I wound this into a small ball from the cone. And then the very middle is, you can't see the blue and as well as the pop of green, but this is Jameson's of Shetland in Lomond, which is a grayish blue that I used in the blue cowl that I made a few months ago. I think it's episode 7. And then the foreground color, this is my pop. This is FC11 mix from Jameson & Smith, 2-ply jumper weight. So in order, the colors are, well, they don't have the white, but the white is the main color. A is 202, B is FC22, C is 27, D is, this is Clover. I think it's Clover. Yeah, Clover. Light blue, E is Lomond, and F is FC11 mix. Again, all of this is in the show notes. If you watch this on Instagram, the show notes are on YouTube. So if you go to the YouTube channel, which is in the link in my bio, and click on the same episode on YouTube, the link to the show notes will be in the description box, or you can go to barnabynets.home.blog and it's there. It won't take you directly to it, but it'll take you to the blog, and you can just search in the titles. So that's this, and the colors. I saw this like meme. It wasn't really a meme. It was a picture on Instagram, and it was like, or no, it was on Twitter, and it was like a woman, like a celebrity, presumably holding like keys, coffee cup, phone, like etc. in her one hand, and like, I don't know, she had something else in her other hand. And it was like, women don't have pockets, so this is why they're so good at like holding all this stuff. But I don't think I can manage to hold. It is true, I spent a lot of time like holding like a coffee and a phone and keys and like trying to juggle everything. But I can't do it all. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I'm gonna hold this up right now so that I have a screenshot for YouTube. There it is. Hopefully that was long enough. Okay, so once again, book Fair Isle Weekend by MJ Mucklestone. You can get this at a variety of local yarn shops. You can get it directly from Lina in Finland, but the shipping is pretty expensive. And also then you're having something shipped all the way across the ocean. So just like one thing. So I always try to buy them locally because they get a big shipment and they distribute them. I bought mine from the Woolly Thistle online shop in New Hampshire. But they also have Lina at my local yarn store, which is Looped in Washington, D.C. So you should check with your LYS to see if they carry Lina books and magazines. Lina is L-A-I-N-E. Publishing. This is a little beat up. Not too bad though, considering how beat up most of my books are. And you can find a list of stockists of Lina at on their website, which is also linked in the show notes. So I will talk a little bit about color palettes for Fair Isle now, based on some books. So again, I just was sitting in the car and I just wrote down a bunch of colors of yarns that I thought would be similar to what I was looking at, because I have a pretty good understanding of the actual colors that I have in my like collection and what the colors are called. But instead of taking a picture, because you can also just take a picture and then look at that picture later and try and figure out the colors based on that. But I actually did something different with that, and initially I had written down a couple of different colors. I had planned for a brown. I was going to use 2009 Uglit by Jamieson & Smith Supreme Jumper Weight, and I was going to use Jamieson & Smith 2-ply jumper weight in FC50, which is a light heathered pink. But when I put all those colors together, I didn't like the brown because the green was enough of a pop. And the light pink didn't contrast enough with the white, no, it was the light gray. It contrasted enough with white, but I didn't want white to be my color A. I wanted it to be the main color. And so this is the light gray, and the light pink and the light gray are too similar in value. So I tried, I twisted the strands around each other to see if I could tell the difference, but I could not. So I just decided to shift the palette so that this pink would be against this gray. And I had just used this clover purple color in the pink and purple cowl, which was the previous episode. So I thought that would go well with, it was kind of in the same family as the pink. They're both heathered, and this guy's got a lot of pink in it. And then the grays also blend. So hard to see. That's pretty good. There we go. The light's behind the camera, pointing down. Okay, so there, you can see they kind of blend. And then the blue blends pretty seamlessly with these two as well, because it has a lot of gray in it, and thunderclouds are often, or rain clouds are often kind of bluish. So I thought that would go well. And then the green of the leaves is pretty high contrast. So color, if you are looking for books that will help you develop a kind of color theory, help you develop your own sense of color and how to take photographs and turn them into palettes. A few books that I have, and I talk about them a lot, but I often don't have them with me. Here's The Joy of Color by Janine Bahus, I think, say Bahus. And this has got some great things. Basically, she uses case studies from her students. She teaches classes and how they picked their colors and the photographs that they used and how they adjusted for colors. And so that's what I did here, is that I adjusted so that the palette would work properly and the contrasts would be high enough. And I wanted the X and O motifs to really blend pretty seamlessly, but I still wanted to be able to see them really clearly. So I adjusted. And she uses a lot of Jamieson's of Shetland Spindrift, and will tell you all the colors that they used. And there's a lot of find your colors, how the color wheel works, how color families work with Jamieson's of Shetland, for instance. Get a color card if you don't have one, etc. How do you swatch to make sure that your motifs and your colors work? Motif inspiration books. These are great. Making your own motifs. Here's a bunch of options. And this one, Knit Sonic Stranded Color Source Book, is the next one that I have to show you. This is Knit Sonic Stranded Colorwork Source Book by Felicity Ford, a knitting book that shows you how to turn everyday inspirations into gorgeous stranded colorwork. So she uses a lot of photography to turn these photos into swatches. And these are great because it's much more literal. So there's some that are I took this and I turned it into a motif by doing this, and how to, start with something literal. And if you don't like that, how to make it symmetrical, how to shade, how to find the patterns. There's a whole bunch of ways to chart. I don't want to show too much because you should get this. I also got this book at the Woolly Thistle. This book is harder to come by because it's printed in the UK. Well, Fair Isle Weekend is printed in Finland, but they're pretty, they have a lot of stockists. They're pretty well connected in the US. But for instance, design the sample pattern and decide if you want it to be like this or if you want to make it somehow symmetrical in a different way. How to create patterns, how to find color, and then how to shift the color palette to include colors. There's this other book. You can get the coloring book as well, but this is the playbook. This one is a book of knitting projects that celebrate daily life in stranded color work. So this has more specific things. One of the biggest things is the bunting. So you actually can knit bunting, and don't worry, it's knit in the round with a steek and then you cut it. But it's a really interesting and more functional way to make swatches. And you can do it for a party or anything. And so as this book uses Jamieson's of Shetland for most of the colorways, this one uses Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight. So you can really get a sense of the colors. And it shows you kind of how to chart these, like how to create your colors and how to make your chart so that you know where you're switching colors, pattern color and background color, etc. It's very cool. And it'll give you several different like pattern ideas and then like how to make it look totally different by using different colorways. And then ideas for like schematics and how to line them up. And then there's other things too. There's also shawls. There's more color inspiration from photos. There's a ton of charts, like the couple that I showed you. Really don't even start to get into it. This is another big project idea, the shawl. It's a much bigger project than the bunting, so it's a good way to try out your like more motifs or different color play. And this is the like schematics. This is how you make it, and then you cut it open and it's a shawl. So that's pretty cool. There's another picture of a shawl. That one's really big. Cool. I love her smile. She looks so happy with all of her work. I just love that. I love it. Oh, I missed a call. Okay, so I think that's it. Oh, I was gonna show my next project. Yeah, my next Fair Isle project, which is my own design. Is in this bag. Oops. Oh, there's the white. That's where it was. It was missing. It was hiding. Go away from notification. I try to turn this on Do Not Disturb and it like doesn't work. So this is my next project. It's a cowl. It's a double cowl. So it's much narrower than my last cowl was by about a third. So this has 1/3 fewer stitches than my last cowl, which means it has about 90, I think there's 98 stitches, maybe 96. And my last one had like 144. So this, I just started it. There's a provisional cast on at the bottom, so it's rolling. But this is just a very simple colorwork motif. And I've changed the color every 3 rows. There's 6 different background or foreground colors and a charcoal background. It's not black, it's a heathered charcoal. It's this is all done in 2-ply jumper weight from Jamieson and Smith. Specifically, I was gonna use a Spindrift color for one of them, but I'm gonna put this out as a design on Ravelry, so I wanted all of the colors to be the same yarn just to make it easier. So the background color is shade 81, which is the charcoal. I only have 4 of these, so I'm really hoping that I have a cone too, but I'm really hoping that it only actually takes 4, but I can't be sure. And then I've got, they're mostly solid, but I have 1 heather, and I realized that a couple of days later, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a bummer, but it actually looks fine. So it's not a big deal. Although when you make this, if you want to make it for yourself, you can choose any colors you want. So all heathered, all solid. The pattern colors are 14, which is light blue. And then this one is 71. The 1 is faded, but I think that says 1. It says sea glass on this label. This is from Fancy Tiger Crafts. And then FC11, which is the same one I used in the hat, the pop from the hat. So those are my 3 blue and greens. And then I have the 3 warm colors. So I've got, this is shade 23, the solid yellow. This is shade 93, very bright red. And then this is shade 95, the pink. So again, none of them are heathered except this green, which is a mix. The heathered mixed, there it is. It's hard to, the light is not in a great spot. That's not helping. Oh, that kind of helps. There you go. You can see the light now, but I should have put it right behind the camera, but then I wouldn't have been able to adjust it. Anyway, okay, so I think that's it. This is going to be called the Fairy Lights cowl, and it will have options for single or double cowl, and the single cowl will be wider, or you could make a really wide double cowl, but then it would just be really bulky and take a ton of yarn. So it's really simple, no shaping, just knit it into a very long tube so that it can wrap around your neck twice and graft it. And for the double or the single cowl version, you can do the half twist like I do with my single cowls, where you graft the like end of round to the one end to the middle of the round at the other end, so it's twisted, which makes it really cozy and snuggly. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching.